Welcome back to the channel. Today's guest I'm mega excited about. We've got Jonathan Kessel-Fell. If you're not familiar with Jonathan's name, he is a legend in the Agile and Lean space. What he's forgotten about Agile and Lean is more than I know. Jonathan has worked in this space for over 26 years. He's a global transformation coach. He is a public speaker, an author. I can't wait to hear about his experience. So let's jump into it. Jonathan, thank you so much for coming down. Really, really appreciate it. It's been a while in the organising, but so excited to have you on. Thank you. And for those watching, welcome back. So, Jonathan, obviously, I met you a while ago through a mutual friend, the legend of Matt Spruce. So just for people watching, give us a bit of an overview of who you are, what you're passionate about, and sort of career highlights, if you like.
Okay. So as you can tell by the colour, I've been around for a long, long time.
Remember, we're going to put a younger filter on this, so it won't look.
That's all right. That'll be perfect. And that's been a real sort of, I suppose, a blessing for me.
Yeah.
I started out in the legal sector.
Okay.
And then because somebody needed some user acceptance testing being done, I switched across and I became a user acceptance tester. While I was there, the company got taken over. And they sort of said, look, we've got loads of lawyers, but we need testers. I could do testing. And then followed 10 years in testing.
Wow.
So, normal sort of, manual testing in the good old days.
Yeah.
Automation testing, test management. And it was during that phase and doing those things that we started to try and break down some of the barriers. And then people started talking a little bit about lean, which we picked up on. And then Takeuchi and Nanaka-san.
Oh, yeah.
Those two put together the new product game, and it was like, oh, this is quite good, and we like this. And then we started trying to bring, which later, of course, became Scrum.
Yeah.
So we brought some of those sort of things in and started to work with that. Did a whole pile of financial organizations working in that sort of space.
Yeah.
And then shifted across into the government sector.
Oh, cool.
And in the last, I'd say about 3 years, 3-4 years in that sort of space in the testing world, things started to get a little bit interesting. We started to have some fun. The biggest one for me was everybody planned out stuff as if it was, this is when this will start, then this is when this will start, then this is...
They still do.
I know they still do. But the thing is, it never happened like that. And I remember, so we used to have this thing. We used to have two big releases a year.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'd laugh at it, but at the time I was absolutely furious. So your development, things would get changed and tweaked, and the requirements would get changed and tweaked. Development would, we need an extra week. That will turn into an extra month. We had a hard stop deadline for when it had to go live. Okay. And you could see the testing window shrink and shrink and shrink until in the end, we were working from 7 a.m. till 11 at night, 7 days a week for
about 2 weeks.
It was about a month and a half to 2 months to try and fit in a 6-month testing window into this sort of space that we had left. And I remember I'd been down to a conference, paid for it myself.
Okay.
Went down, me and an old friend of mine who now lives in Australia, Ben Howell.
Okay.
Ben, if you're watching, keep going, mate. And we went down, we looked at this, we learned more about sort of agility and about Scrum and about some of the tooling. That I think the thing was actually being run by a tooling company.
Yeah.
And we really started to get into it. And I remember I woke up. Now, it was the morning of my birthday.
Oh, cool.
Okay. I was sleeping in the office. Okay.
Oh, cool.
I was using a couple of old C++ books as a pillow.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay. And I remember I woke up that morning after we'd worked late into the night. And opened up the box, cold pizza for breakfast from the night before.
Yeah.
You've played this game. And there I was sitting at my desk taking a telephone call from my daughters, singing happy birthday down the phone to me, holding cold pizza in one hand, and just sitting there thinking,
There's got to be a better way, right?
well, I know there's a better way.
Yeah.
And that better way is agility. Okay. Being able to adapt and change, shift the testing left.
Yeah.
You know, a whole pile of stuff. And I just stormed out of that room. I went up to the top floor and I went and spoke with one of the best executive leaders I've ever come across, Billy Major.
Wow.
She's absolutely fantastic.
Awesome.
And she just, one look at my face and I'm like, okay, John, what's wrong? Sit down, tell me. And I explained the situation. This was about the third time we'd had to do this. And she said, well, what can we do about it? And I said, well, can we give Agile a try? This is about, a year and a half after the manifesto was written.
Wow. So 2003, 2002, something like that, yeah.
Around there. And we just had that conversation. It was absolutely brilliant. And she said, right, we've got a real big thing coming in at the moment that we need to do. Nobody actually knows what the solution's supposed to look like. Nobody even knows what the requirements look like.
Yeah.
We just know we need something to do this, this, and this. Would Agile work in that space?
Ambiguity.
And guess what?
Yeah.
I went in and I started doing stuff. They brought in a Scrum Master to help us.
Yeah.
After about 2 months, I think they realized that I knew more than the Scrum Master. So I was made the Scrum Master of 1, then 2, then 3 teams. Then I started teaching other teams about what we'd done. And then one day somebody said these weird words to me. They went, oh, so you're like the Agile Coach. I'm like, what on earth's an Agile Coach? And it was at that point that I bumped into Lisa.
Oh, yeah, Lisa, that's good.
Yes, and Simon Power.
Okay.
Funny enough, Simon was sitting on the seat next to me listening to Lisa. I think it was one of the first things that Simon's organisation, was running from a training point of view. And it just opened up,
Whole new world.
Yeah, whole new world. And I've been doing that for what feels like centuries ever since then.
Yeah,
so,
that's a fun,
so that's,
fun century though, right?
Oh, and, I have to admit, because I'm helping people improve the environment in which they're working, their working lives, making it better for them, for all of them. Even though they might feel uncomfortable at the start,
yes.
by the end of it, they go, this is absolutely brilliant. It makes my job, don't tell anybody, shh. I'd most probably do this for free. Okay? Because it's so much fun and it's you're actually bringing something wonderful into the world.
100%. Yeah. As my background, before I got into change management and so forth, was resourcing. Yeah. Before I got into that, I do recruitment. And I always said to people, the reason I love what I do is I can positively impact people's lives, whether that's we need someone in your map because, people are sleeping under the desks eating pizza. Yeah. And because, the team are just under the pump and we need more people. Yeah. It's not always the answer, but sometimes, you need someone in there. Or someone sitting at their desk for 40, 50 hours a week thinking, there's got to be a better way. Yeah. And that impact, you think about the world of work and so forth. Apart from sleeping, there is nothing that you do more in a week than go to work. So if you can positively impact that, and it makes people's lives better. All of a sudden, they're no longer grumpy and coming home and, flinging their bag across the room and saying, like, why do I bother? They're whistling when they go out the door because they really love what they do. And it's the same with business agility. When you really introduce it and you see people working in that new, new to them way, one of the first things I always see is people are they're no longer overburdened.
Yes.
Because they understand what they can do, or there's alignment on what we should do. So people are bought in and they're focused on it, as opposed to having to pull long hours just to do everything because why it was in the requirements document.
You would understand this, but one of the biggest compliments I've ever been given was not really about directly what I was doing, but somebody said, I was sitting on the sofa. This is Sunday night. I was sitting on the sofa Sunday night, and I was thinking, do you know what? I'm looking forward to going into work tomorrow.
That's a change, isn't it?
I'm sorry, but I think that's one of the biggest compliments I've ever been paid.
I can totally understand that. 100%. Yeah, that's so cool. We've mentioned there, you've done this for a long time, right?
Yes.
And I know you do a lot of leadership coaching and
Yes.
In and around that. With regards to that leadership coaching, how do you bring about the... a lot of the time with the leaders I've worked with, when it comes to coaching, a lot of the time at the beginning of an engagement, there definitely will be, go make them agile, but I'm okay. Yeah. How do you use your experience to help them realize that maybe it's them that needs to change as well? And how do you take them on that journey? How's that been working?
So, man, that's a big question. I think there are some key things in that. You said there, how do you take them on the journey as well?
Yes.
Okay. I would mostly tweak that to say, how do you take them on that journey first?
Yes.
Okay. Purely because in every single experience that I've had, if the leadership has not deliberately made some changes in their own behaviors, in the way they act, in the language that they use, and embody what it is we're looking for, it doesn't matter how much money you throw at any sort of transformation, how many training courses we run, what sort of frameworks we bring in, how many posters we put up around the place. It's not gonna land.
Stick.
It's not gonna stick. It's not gonna be there. And that's for me is a really, really big thing. There needs to be, I think, some fundamental changes in the way leaders act. Their leadership style needs to tweak and change a little. Okay. And they need to, maybe not be the hub of everything.
Yeah.
But enable people, don't sort of say, oh, if you need some information, come to me. Say, if you need some information, go here and here and here. Let me give you access. Don't say, if you need something, come to me and I'll get in touch with somebody. Say, oh no, these are the people you need to get in touch with. Let me introduce you. All right. And I think the biggest one that they need to do is, well, we know psychological safety is a massive, massive thing.
Yeah,
okay. If you want continuous improvement, if you want people to stick their head above the parapet and sort of say, well, I've got an idea, I don't think what we're doing at the moment is right. I've got an idea. None of that will ever happen. Yeah. Nobody will ever take ownership of what they're working on unless there is psychological safety.
Yeah.
And to bring that about, the leaders themselves need to act in a completely different way. So what they need to do is, if they don't know, make it normal for somebody to say, do you know what? I don't know yet. I don't know. But let me go and find out.
Yeah. Show that vulnerability of not knowing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Not knowing is okay. Getting it wrong, But then, if they got it wrong and say, look, I don't know, I got it wrong, sorry, the response should be, right, what have we learned from it?
Yeah.
Where can we go? And if they turn around and go, well, I don't know. I said, well, let's bring some people together. Let's have a look at what happened. Some of the greatest innovations, some of the greatest step forward that we've had in human society, business world, usually have come around from mistakes that have happened and people trying to do stuff,
Absolutely.
I always say, those blockers that we have, those constraints that we have, okay, as far as I'm concerned, those are springboards for innovation.
100%.
They're not things that stop us. They
Learning
should.
opportunity, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Perfect word. They are opportunities for us to look at a situation and go, hey, let's go and try this instead.
Yeah.
Let's go and do this one instead and give it a go.
That's the hard bit, though, I think, is creating the space for that. Let's have a try of this.
Exactly.
And that's what I was talking about, that overburden bit. Until you can relieve that, people are just, I haven't got time to get better. I'm too busy with this. And that's one of the hardest messages. Something you mentioned now, the leadership side of thing, and everything you say is gold. One of the things I find with the transformations that stick, you know what I mean, the changes that really land, is when the leadership both change, but they champion it as well. It's not like, we've brought Jonathan in to lead this. I'm going to leave you with Jonathan. Come back to me when you're all agile. I'll see you in a bit.
Yes, that happens so often.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest things, and I suppose I learned this from my experiences that I had.
Yeah.
One of the things that I suppose I'm a little bit proud of is Sendatu.
Okay.
Sendatu leadership. Okay. I looked at what was happening in all the industries that I've worked in. I've worked with retail, I've worked with finance, I've worked with automotive, loads of different areas. And I've noticed that there are certain elements that make a difference. Okay. And I went off and had a look all over the place, tried to find something that would combat the old thinking.
Yeah.
Okay. And sort of something that stood out. And I found a word that's actually thousands of years old from the Japanese. Funny enough, Japanese. Culture. Another one, to go with, Gemba walks and
Kanban boards.
Kanban boards. The whole thing. And that was Sendatu.
Yeah.
And Sendatu is a leader, but it's got three parts to it. One, as you say, is you create the right environment. You hold the right sort of conversations, you display the right sort of things to create the very best environment for people to work. Basically, it goes back to what I call the leadership principle from the Agile Manifesto, number 5. Yeah, motivation is really important, but you need to give them the right environment and the right support, and then trust them to get the job done. Okay? And that's really important. So that's principle number 1. Is you give them the right environment, you create the right environment in which they can work. And it's not just psychological safety. If you look at the Google Aristotle process, there were 5 things in there. Some of those latter ones are so important, okay, about helping your team because of the feedback loop that you're going to get from the customer, from the, the customer facing side of your organization. Get that feedback so that they know the work that they're doing is making a difference in the lives of somebody. It becomes important. They know the impact that it's having. So that's part of it. The next one is, and I use the image of a Japanese torii gate. Okay, gates in Japan are different. Gates in most of the world are things that stop your progress. They hold you back. A gate in Japan is something open that welcomes you onto the path, okay? And that's what we need to be as leaders. We need to welcome people on and walk alongside them as they make changes, as they learn, as they try stuff out. That most probably means that they need to go and learn it first as leaders, okay? And then exhibit those things and then say, right, hey, come and have a chat with me. And also, have you been on this course? Let me organize, from a training point of view. And the whole point of a Sendatu leader was to walk the path, physically the path with them,
Yeah.
pointing out things that uplifted and taught them and grew them, in this case, spiritually as well as mentally, but also steered them clear of some of the dangers that were out there.
I get you.
Okay. And then the last part of that is be an innovator. Okay. Look for the opportunities. Most of the things, as I say, that we have been serendipity,
Yeah.
lucky mistakes. They're only lucky mistakes if you recognize the benefit of it.
Yeah.
So as a leader, you need to be looking for those benefits. You need to be looking for those things, trying things out. And if you're not the one that's identifying those things, find the people in your team that are coming up with those ideas and be what's called the first supporter. Okay? Champion those people. If somebody's come up with a really, really, snazzy widget or whatever it is, or, maybe something you're doing with AI that, really improves your job or whatever it is, you don't, which has happened in the past to me, you don't have a manager who goes, oh, let me have a look at that.
Yeah.
This is what
I've come up with,
and then suddenly go, hang on a minute, that's mine, the amount of times that's happened.
Do you know, I've had that happen to one of my friends very, very recently.
Yes, it happens, but a real leader isn't worried about the fact that somebody else is getting the limelight.
Yeah.
Okay. I saw something yesterday on Facebook that really made me stop and think. I think today, or possibly yesterday, they opened up the Barack Obama Library.
Okay.
In Chicago. Okay. And I found it really interesting that most of the things in that building are named after other people that have inspired him.
Wow.
So the gardens outside, the waterways, different parts, different areas, they're all named after other people.
That inspired Barack.
Yeah, and real leadership is not being afraid to recognize the benefits and the achievements of others.
Absolutely.
It doesn't take away. It doesn't take away from your, place or standing. And I think that's the last one in that, that innovation. If somebody comes up with a brilliant idea, jump up and go, hey, everybody, come and have a look, see what Matt has developed.
Yeah.
Okay. Come and have a look at what Matt's done. That's what it's all about.
That's fantastic, man. I love it. Yeah, I'll be honest, not something I was that familiar with, from Sendatu as such, but something I'm inspired to go and learn a bit more about. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So, Jonathan, you've done this for quite some time. With where do you see the evolution of business agility, especially for the role, thinking about people in those roles, your Agile coaches, Scrum Masters, and so forth. Where do you see the big step change next, the evolutions? Where do you see it?
Okay, you've got some good questions going on here. Strangely for me, evolution of agility is going to go backwards. Okay. The problem is that with a lot of the agile adoption that we did, it was either a framework, either at scale or Scrum or something like that, and it was all about training and certification and a whole pile of other stuff. I love the Agile Manifesto. Okay. And for me, that evolution in agility, especially business agility, is to go back to principle number one. Okay. Highest priority is it says satisfy. I always say delight the customer. Okay. Through early and continuous delivery of something that the customer really values. Okay. Straight off, you need to build a strong relationship with the customer. All right. So I think one of the evolutions is really strong product management. Okay. Customer centricity, understanding what are the pain points. Go off and bring in some, job to be done theory, find out what, the pain points are and how you can overcome those sort of things. Have those really good conversations. Not with surveys or anything like that, but actually go and have some really good conversations. So I think part of that evolution is that. And then tying in with that, principle number 2, being comfortable with change and adapting, listening to what's going on, keeping things as short as possible, and then being able to adapt and change, okay? And be comfortable with that. And again, that's a cultural change. That's a mindset shift, okay?
Yeah.
And that's really what agility is. When you look at these things about principle 12, continually improving.
Yes.
And we've already said about building the right culture and right environment. Principle 11, when it's talking about, the best requirements, the best solutions, the best, code or whatever it is,
Emergent, yeah.
from a self-organizing team. If you don't have psychological safety,
if you don't have that environment,
emergence will never take place.
No,
everybody will just keep their mouth shut and go, whatever the boss says, that's what we'll be working on,
Yeah.
So I think you've got things in there, that evolution around that. I would also say, and it's been around for ages, lean portfolio management. Go and have a look at the principles of the 9 principles of lean portfolio management and understand how that works. Have that demand flow so that you're, from an enterprise to a portfolio to a team level, there is a clear understanding of the strategy alignment, that the objectives for that strategy are going to be correct, that financing is done differently, okay?
Always hard change.
So, not impossible at times. I've just spent some time with an absolutely fantastic young lady who lives up in Finland.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And Chanda, she's just done a master's degree all about that. Okay. About how you bring about that change. Absolute brilliant bit of work she did. And she got an extra prize just for the quality of what she, produced. It was brilliant.
Fantastic.
But it was all about trying to understand how. Too often in the past, we finance for the whole year.
Yeah.
Okay. And really what we need to be doing is financing the team and then we've been saying this for years.
Yeah.
Bring the work to the team.
Yes.
Have the team there and they can then deal with any change, any adaptation that comes about. They can deal with it. So you need to understand how you shorten the planning cycle, how you shorten the funding cycle.
Shorten the feedback loop as well, right?
Shorten the feedback loop and just basically create the right environment so that demand flow coming through goes right the way back to that first one. Early and often.
Yeah.
Okay. We're delivering something that is customer centric early and often. And therefore we're delighting our customer. And if you delight your customers, you are going to be a successful organization. It's as simple as that.
Now, speaking of the lean portfolio management,
Yes.
a little birdie told me you had a lot to do with the formulation of the IC Agile course in and around that. So tell us a bit more about that and how that all came about.
So I've been involved with IC Agile for quite some time.
Yeah.
I really like their approach. They give some really clear learning principles and practices that they want to bring about.
Yeah.
How you do that is entirely up to you.
Love it.
So you can write your course, you can put it all together, you can tweak and adapt it so that it fits what you're trying to do. Give it to them, they check it through, and if they're happy with it, that it's meeting those objectives, yes. And, a lot of our, crew will have known the ICP ACC course.
Yeah.
For, for Agile coaching, you got the enterprise coaching course, the next level up. But yeah, I'd already spent a lot of time with them working on some of these things, advising in certain areas. And they pulled me in. I was lucky to be one of the 4 authors who put the learning objectives together for Lean Portfolio Management.
Wow.
And as much as it was wonderful to give back to the community, totally selfish, that was an amazing learning experience for me. They always say the teacher learns the most about the subject matter.
Yeah.
Okay, because you never know what questions are going to come up. But it really sort of highlighted for me the importance of that customer centricity, and also the rate of change that we're having in today's world. There are so many things taking place, changes in regulations, dropping of, borders, digital or otherwise. Now we're going the other way around, and we've now got sovereignty going. I can't say that word. Is it
sovereignty?
That's the one. Okay, going on, from a digital point of view. And all of these things are sort of taking place, and we got to try and deal with these sort of things. And it was just amazing that when I went through and we looked at all these different things, it was like, well, yeah, you need to understand how that lean portfolio management is that end-to-end flow, how it fits, and how it fits in with such a rapidly changing and evolving world, getting even faster with AI these days. Okay?
Absolutely.
Agile was absolutely brilliant to get us to look at the customer. AI is going to be absolutely brilliant, and is absolutely brilliant to help us speed up and do things quicker, okay, and take things forward. And I've found that both agility and AI fits beautifully into the framework for lean portfolio management.
Brilliant. And I think something you've touched upon there, with lean portfolio management and AI coming in. I think as agile coaches and scrum masters, a lot of the time, in days gone by, our coaching very much been in and around that delivery side, especially looking, developers, testers, and so forth, because that's where a lot of the time the bottleneck was. Now with agentic AI, the execution and the testing of that execution is done in seconds rather than, by a team of people in days. Yes. We can do that, and to a point we can test it if we trust the QA test that we build really, really fast. So that feedback loop there has sped up so much more. However, our coaching focus needs to be more upstream now, because if we don't shape the idea going into that delivery pipeline, we're going to get really bad stuff coming out the other end.
So I know this is going out and it's public.
Yeah, go for it.
So maybe the wording that I would use is going to be a bit suspect. But you're absolutely spot on with that statement.
Thank you.
The way I view it is AI enhances whatever your organization is. It enhances your system for good or bad.
Yeah.
It enhances your strengths. And if you've got weaknesses, and we all will do, it will enhance those as well.
Amplify them, won't it?
Big time. All right. And that's why I think agility, knocking things around, I think agility and AI fit perfectly together.
100%.
The reason being, the whole focus of agility, and this is why I say the evolution is to go back to the very beginning of what it was.
Absolutely.
Okay, it's about that customer centricity, that customer focus, and delivering that customer value. Okay, AI allows us to do whatever it is we're doing much faster.
Yes.
And if you've got rubbish coming in,
guess what you've got coming out?
You've got rubbish coming out.
100%.
And if you've got AI, it's basically diarrhea. Okay. And that's what it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how fast it's coming out and how quickly it's been done. If it's rubbish, it's rubbish.
Yeah. Okay? It's amplified rubbish.
Exactly. And that's why agility for me is so important and tying together. If you've got agility at the start, true agility of customer focus and continuous improvement and creating stuff that works, principle number 9,
Yeah.
okay, and creating the right environment in which the teams can work at a sustainable pace because they've got somebody sitting alongside helping them, okay, ChatGPT buddy, Copilot buddy, Claude buddy,
Yeah.
That helps with number 8, sustainable pace.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And these are important things, I think, because that will help us enable sustainable pace and will stop us from burning our people out.
Definitely.
What the problem is there, leadership principle, don't suddenly go, oh, they can now do twice as much work
Yeah.
as they did before, okay? Because you'll still then be burning people out.
100%.
All right? So that's why I think that Agile and AI fit beautifully, because what you have coming out at the end quicker because of AI is the right stuff.
Yeah. And, it's something that I've used a lot in the past in my current engagement. I'm, been there for it's coming up 3 years. I'll often say the message, I need you to slow down to be able to speed up down the road. And a lot of that focus is in and around understanding the collective understanding of what we're trying to do, and how will we know that it's actually done with clear acceptance criteria. Who's this intended for? Who is going to actually receive it? What is it that they're going to get? How will we know it's true? And how are we going to test the impact of that? A lot of time people go, well, we know the solution, so let's go. I need you to slow down here. So when we get to there, it's going to be fast. Yes. Because technology is advancing all of the time. We can do these things so much quicker. And with the arrival of agentic AI, it's sped it up 1,000-fold. But if we don't take that time up front, as you said, diarrhea.
Yes.
So, Jonathan, wanted to get your take on this. You've led transformations, globally. You've done this at the highest level. And what are the common pitfalls that you've seen with, dare I say the term, agile transformations? What are the common pitfalls you've seen, and how can people use your experience to avoid them?
That, again, a fantastic question. I almost will expand it a bit.
Go on.
Because it's not just agile transformations.
No.
It's AI transformations. It's basically just another
transformation.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest problem that we've got is that leadership, just as they looked at Agile, they're now looking at AI and thinking, oh, this silver bullet that's going to solve all of our problems.
It's shiny and I want it.
Well, it is. It's shiny and I want it. But the thing is, it's not a silver bullet.
No.
It's not this, it's not going to fix everything.
No.
What they do, agility highlights where you're getting it wrong.
Yes.
And you need to have the right leadership in place to go, yep, that's where we need to make some tweaks and changes. And AI is it's not the same thing.
No.
But it's still a transformation, and people still look at AI and go, oh, we'll bring AI in, that'll solve everything.
Yeah.
No, as we've already said.
Yeah.
If you've got a bad organization, dropping AI will just make it worse. Yeah.
And it can be painted as a success, because if your success criteria is how many people are now using the AI tool that we've given them, adoption rates up. Well, we've done our job. That's brilliant, right? Yeah. How many people have been on the training course? Oh, we've trained them on it. So they've trained them on it. So that's a success, and they're using it. Double success. We've nailed it. No, you've just accelerated bad stuff coming out of your organization.
Exactly.
It's not a good thing. So yes. So, from your point of view, the transformation side of things, you see a lot of the common pitfalls that you've seen in the past.
Yeah. Repeating themselves.
Going to repeat themselves.
Leadership, and I'll say this right at the very start, leadership needs to be actively involved and engaged and willing to create the space for experimentation, to try stuff out. And as with any experiment, It's going to go wrong occasionally, and be comfortable with that, and sort of say, right, what have we learned from this? And I'm talking about both types of transformations. Also, the way in which you view what you're working on. A lot of people are looking at AI and looking at it and thinking, right, it's a tooling rollout. We roll out the tool, we make it available to everybody. Brilliant. We're now using AI. We're an AI organization. No, you're not. Okay. I keep on seeing these adverts on Facebook. If you're just using AI for doing search,
If it's replaced Google for you,
and this is the thing. There are so many different things that you can use it for.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's just an absolute brilliant resource.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
But as with AI, you don't just have to be good at prompt engineering. You have to be really good at context engineering as well. Okay. Exactly the same with Agile. Okay. You need to, when you're a coach, you need to understand the environment, understand the system in which you're in, the context in which agility is going to come in, and you need to be able to ask the right questions. Just as you would with AI, as a coach, you need to ask the right questions. I always say when I'm running my IC Agile courses for coaches, one of the key points is to be a challenger. All right. Ask the awkward questions. Ask the uncomfortable questions. Hopefully, if you're doing that with the right people and you've given them the right space and prepared them enough, they are then going to look at it and go, okay, you're right. We're doing it wrong. What do we need to do? I don't know. Take them that arc of that coaching conversation. Get them to expand out, get all the idea, the big picture, bring it in, identify what we're going to do, take it forward, How are we going to manage this? How are we going to track this? What are we going to do? How are we going to see the success of this agile transformation? Same principle applies with AI transformations. And I think this is the thing. I'm having a bit of a play at something that's either going to be an article or it's going to be something I might throw out there for Bob Galen.
Oh, yeah.
He's got a conference coming up, and that is coaches as a penknife, a Swiss Army pocket knife. Okay. And if you have gone through a number of transformations and have picked all this information up and you know about leadership and you know about culture, I was lucky enough to have met Jet Hofstede, who has this brilliant idea of looking at culture. I think I had a chat with him and I dropped a little bit of that into one of my articles on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And it's about looking at, the different aspects of the culture, the way it fits in, how your leadership is interacting with others. Who's making the decisions and at what level for how big are the organization. So if you've got somebody at the top making decisions, it's called power distance. Somebody at the top making decisions that affect everybody as opposed to allowing them to do it themselves. All of these things apply in all of these transformations. And I think sometimes it's really important for us to just take that time and look at it and give the space, ask the right questions.
I think something you mentioned earlier was a really important point. You said about asking the right questions was give them the space. And I think, that's a really important point for us as coaches is having that emotional intelligence to know when to be able to ask that. Because like you said, ask the difficult ones, the disruptive questions. If the person isn't in the right frame of mind to hear that, that can kill your credibility and trust with that person. If and using that emotional intelligence as coaches. And I think that's something, I don't want to say I wasn't aware of, but I went through the coaching masterclass with Bob.
Oh, yes.
And it was your name came up a few times. And, it's that emotional side is so important. And maybe one that isn't given enough sort of highlighted enough for us as agile coaches. as much as the knowledge around the frameworks and tools and
Yes.
methods and so forth. So I do think that's such a big one there.
I would say on that one, whenever I run the course, I actually have a small section of my course. I call it Human Systems Therapist. And as a coach, kind of that's what we are.
Yeah.
But to do that properly, and again, it's about this learning as a coach. You're not just learning about frameworks and about agility.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that it was 17 people that turned up in Snowbird in February 2001.
Yeah.
Okay. I can even tell you the weekend that it was happening because it was my birthday.
Oh, wow.
So it's not just about knowing that stuff. It's about knowing, as we've already said, it's about understanding job to be done theory and things like that customer centricity. But also, it is about integral theory, okay? And about understanding how people view stuff, perception, how people interact, how people use language, okay? The four horsemen of the apocalypse, as it's called about sometimes, about how you deal with conflict, all of these things. If you want to be a really good coach at any organizational level, you've got to know far more than just a few frameworks.
Yeah.
Okay. You said there, it's that emotional thing.
Emotional intelligence.
We're talking with people.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was a big pull for me. And most of the work that I get attracted to, if you look at Alistair Corbin's work,
Yes.
very much about the people side of change. You look at David Anderson's work, very much about evolutionary change. It's all about human-centric, you know what I mean, in that side of things. And when you look at those kind of things, it's very much human-centric. And we've spoken a bit about AI. And for me, definitely at this moment, and I think personally, I think forever, the most important part is that human in the loop. And I don't see that going away.
No.
And so, when people think, is AI going to take my job? It's going to change your job.
Mm-hmm.
But that human in the loop is the most important part, So I think as coaches, we are coaches, not just for the system, but the humans within that system. And it's normally a human system we are there to coach.
And that's why I'm looking at this thing about pen knives.
Yeah.
Okay. Every single blade is going to be a different skill, a different experience, different knowledge that you as a coach will bring in, not just possibly for Agile, not just possibly for AI, but I do leadership coaching, which has got nothing, hasn't got anything to do with either of them.
No.
Okay. But how to be a really good leader of people. There are so many different little things that I do. And I think for coaches going forward, the evolution of the role is to understand that you have so many different skills and experiences that you can use in so many different areas to manage, to lead, to support, to help. The future is brilliant for us as long as we catch the vision of what it can be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Jonathan, I've really enjoyed talking to you, and I could continue to do this for hours. Luckily, we're going for dinner now, so we can.
Well, yes.
But we're going to stop recording. So, Jonathan, thank you so much for coming down. Absolute pleasure. Really, really appreciate it.
I've absolutely loved it.
Awesome. Wow.
I didn't even. I drove down the road just outside. I was only here about 6 months ago at a wedding up at the church at the top of the road. So, I love this part of the world. You are a lucky man to be here.
Welcome back. Thank you very much.